People of YouTube, hello. It's been a while, but I thought I'd do a run-through of a piece that I wrote for a documentary series I'm working on. The director asked me to do something in the vein of Harry Manfredini, who did the Friday the 13th score. So I did, of course, that sort of echo, that ha, shh type thing. But, I didn't want to rip it off completely. But aside from that, in analyzing his work, he uses the 12-tone scale a lot, developed by Schoenberg, meaning not repeating any of the notes until you get to all 12 notes of the chromatic scale. So I use that as the basis of this piece and a lot of the pieces in the episode of the series. So I had to start with that set that I came up with, a 12-tone set. So I can show you that now, actually. So I used the second and the third one, which are very similar. So that was the first thing I did. And then the second thing was to look at his orchestration and certain things that he does. So I'm going to play the piece, and then we'll go in and analyze different sections and what I did. Okay, so here it is. Okay, so let's talk about the orchestration first. So I have the full woodwinds and brass and strings, so it's a full orchestra pretty much. Well, let's go top to bottom. So starting with the woodwinds, he does this a lot. And actually John Williams too, for that matter, but kind of to emulate that slashing sound of, Jason with the knife. So, or rather, Jason with the axe. Well, starts off with the knife, I guess. And technically, Jason's not really in the first one, but we digress. But there's this actually, the model that I used for this piece is from, I think, the third movie. So this with the cymbal, that slashing sort of motif, is used a lot. So I try to emulate that. So let's get that woodwind run, the piccolo run with the cymbal swell. So that's kind of important aspect of the winds. But this piece starts off with just strings. But that is kind of that slashing motif there. And for that I used the Arc 3, these clusters, Metropolis Arc. So use that, the high one and the low one. So that's a nice effect. Anytime you can use samples that have that gesture in it, it's going to sound better than if you try to build that gesture from separate elements. So I always try to go for those things if you can find them. So the arc stuff has a lot of that, those gestures, especially the third one. So I wanted to give it this sort of motion at the beginning, like almost like a chase sequence. So for that I use this viola. So this isn't strictly 12 tone because we're repeating some of the notes, but it's definitely like on the atonal side. And then that takes over, this motif kind of takes over the violins, which has that cluster in there. And beneath that we have this line in the basses, kind of menacing. Now here's where the winds and the brass enter. So for this I'm kind of building on that. The motif that started in the high strings is now down in the low strings. So, and we kind of fill it in more. And it's modulating too. So we have that. I got some brass punctuating that too. So what did I use for that? I used I'm stacking up a lot of things here. So I have the Spitfire chamber cello with the fluid short cello and the arc 1 low octave spiccatos. And so over that, the viola is doing an interesting counter melody here. Look at this kind of like slashing thing at the end here. Right, so we're bringing that slash motif back. So I actually did that staccato in the high strings with the long notes, like here, which I think is kind of cool. So you get the percussive sort of drive with that kind of eerie melody floating over. So as far as the winds here, let's look at that. It's just doing more, doing the short notes. It's just kind of to add that color and reinforcement. But especially for that slash motif, it's important. That. And then this here to get those high winds in there. So if we look at the brass in this section, Just trombones here. Just to kind of accentuate those. That line there. And that's kind of it for the brass. Okay, I wanted to do that cluster in the bells there. So let's look at the percussion here. Actually, before we get to that, does the percussion do anything? Well, aside from the cymbal swells and some timpani. So we get the timpani here. And the cymbal swells. And then after that section, there's a timpani effect I used here. So that sounds like it's like if you put a cymbal on top of the timpani upside down, you roll on it, and then you mess with the pedal. That's kind of what that is. And I put tons of reverb on that. Use the Valhalla reverb. Yeah, 13 seconds, so. And it's almost completely wet. So just to give it that otherworldly kind of sound. But there's also the melodic percussion here, which I want to talk about that. This cluster in the bells, in the chimes, rather, I kind of got that from the Hellraiser score by Christopher Young. He uses the clusters and the chimes for really cool effect. So I always like that. So I'm kind of drawing from that. And then we have this thing that starts in the Celeste. Okay, but before all this, we had some we have this Spitfire Evo stuff, the grid. It's just doing this tension kind of riser here to build the tension. Oh yeah, there's actually, you can hear that. There's a water phone in there. Where is that? Oh, there it is. So that adds a nice little color. That Cinesamples water phone. Yeah, and then for this last section, it's just kind of this eerie, slower, moody kind of stuff. And in fact, the director ended up using more of this kind of moody stuff at the end, but I just kind of wanted to explore the sound and give them an example of it to work with. But okay, well that's it pretty much. If you guys have any questions, let me know. I have another track like this that I may do next week. That has more of the Friday the 13th type motifs in it, if you guys are interested. Because it seems like on this channel you guys are really into the horror stuff, which so am I, obviously. But so if you want to see more of that stuff, let me know. But yeah, I just wanted to drop in and show you guys what I'm working on. All right, we'll see you next time. Bye.